When working in any design program, typically when I create a new document, I like to build out at least some sort of aid to get me thinking in the mindset of things in the space around a screen, for instance. On your iPhone or whatever device you have, typically there's not anything that's just literally, cropped. There's an intent for an object on the screen to be at least, a set width from the edge. And to do that in Affinity Designer, you don't need to, but it helps to set up either margins, set up guides, and Affinity does this in such a way that's a little more intuitive than other programs. All the programs that I've used, or most creative programs, for instance, have guides that you can, cue in by hand. For instance, like this, if you hit Command R on a Mac, you can pull in guides and just kind of do things to eye. And that's useful, but sometimes you want to be more exact. And a nifty feature of Affinity that I fell in love with immediately was the guides manager. So you can actually input guides physically, like you can actually have an exact pixel value based guide that will, you can edit just by double clicking this field here, or if you want a vertical one. And notice if I just click this, it will go ahead and throw it in the middle of the document based on its width and height. So that's also useful. So if you want to create another one, we can do this and just put one in like 20 pixels. Another one, whatever the width is, like, let's look at the width of this thing, 750, so like 730. So you get the idea. So basically, yeah, you can go ahead and edit these by hand as well. So that's awesome in my mind. You could even classify these as percentages if you want. That kind of is a little more not exact, but still, I don't know, to eye, it's a little more going a different direction. I don't know. If you want to go that route, that's cool too. On top of that, on each document in an artboard, when you create a new artboard in Affinity, you can also tell it when you create it to include these margins, similar to if you've used like InDesign or something. It kind of comes with document margins, and that's pretty cool as well. So I want to make these a little larger. So essentially, these are great for just a generalized guide for your document itself. So there's the margins, a little lighter purple compared to the guides, which are this blue color. When it comes to artboards, chances are you're going to use more than one. That's the point of an artboard. It's more or less like storyboarding inside of a creative app. And so to duplicate, I hold Option and drag, click and drag. And in doing that, this awesomeness happens. Like you literally just copy everything you just did. The margins, the guides stick with you when you go this route. And I find that pretty dang useful too. And you can even go into creating another one by using the artboard tool here. And when you do insert one, if you want completely one blank of all these guides and margins, you can go about it this way. And this one, as you can see, doesn't have anything on it. Personally, I would probably use this route where you just drag and drop, because chances are you're kind of following a design pattern in your own design and you want to stick with it. But sometimes, hey, you want to change it. And the neat thing is, once you click and drag and edit one, you can actually edit just the single artboard itself. So the guides and their parameters aren't necessarily tied to each of the artboards, if that makes sense. So for instance, I can change this to 500 pixels and that one moves, but these still stay the same. So that's pretty nifty. You also notice when any given artboard is selected, only those guides and margins are displaying. To me, that's a great design decision from Affinity. I think it creates a lot of clutter if you see all the guides at once. So to me, that's just less stressful and when it comes to, you know, putting things down on canvas. So anyway, hopefully this helped you if you're in, you know, new with guides and even grids, for instance. You can customize those. You can change the colors if you want. If you just hit show grid like this. I don't use the grid all that much, but I do find it's useful when you do things that need to be all the similar size or something like that, like icon design. And a neat thing, you can choose to use automatic grids, or you can go advanced and go pretty nuts with this. So there are some presets here that are pretty neat. You can do, for instance, triangular, which is nice. Or if you want some perspective, I think there's one that's the trimectic. Yeah, so that kind of gives you a different perspective, and you can modify all this stuff too, which is neat. So it's really useful, really powerful. Like I said, I don't use grids a ton, but if you did, or if you do a lot of perspective, maybe drawings or something like that, no longer are you stuck in the boundaries of these just, you know, traditional grids like you have, say, in Photoshop or Illustrator or something. You have more power at your fingertips. So if you like this, I'm going to keep going with these videos. If you subscribe or like the actual video, that'd be great. Curious to hear your feedback as well. Thank you for watching.